So the first one was called Alien. The second one was Aliens. So shouldn't the third one have been called Aliens? Hello there, welcome to Alyssa Jean's Reviews, and this is this month's edition of Nostalgia Lane, where I will be covering Aliens. Nostalgia Lane is a series of videos in which I rewatch a film from my past, one that I have not seen in a long time, and talk about how I feel about it now after the rewatch. And I follow the same format. First, in part one, I will talk about why I chose the film for Nostalgia Lane. Part two, I will talk about what I thought of the film back when I first saw it. Part three, usually the longest section of the video, I'll talk about what I think of it now after the rewatch, give my review and thoughts on it. And in part four, I'll give my rating out of 10. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Okay, part one, why I chose this film. It's one I've been thinking about for a while, just because a lot of people, including my brother, talk about this film all the time. My brother talks about it as one of the greatest movies he's ever seen. And just people within the fandom that I normally participate in, like the Star Trek fandom, the Marvel fandom, etc., are all really into this movie and have seen it a gazillion times. And I haven't seen it in years. And I really don't remember it. It's one that I've been thinking about doing for a little bit, and I finally decided to get around to doing it. This month, I think I was inspired by an episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds that basically ripped off the plot of Aliens. So I wanted to go back and watch the real deal and see how I thought about it now. So that's what this video is for. Okay, part two, what I thought of it when I first saw this movie. This is going to be a very thin section because I honestly don't remember it that well. Here's what I remember. I remember that I did not see it in the theaters in 1986. The first that I really got interested in it was from Saturday Night Live when Sigourney Weaver hosted it. And they did a sketch called Aliens, which is where I got my opening bit from. It was a really great parody of it. I wish it existed somewhere on the internet, not anywhere on YouTube. I've done an internet search for it. I even went to Peacock, because Peacock has every episode of Saturday Night Live, but they don't have the full episodes. So I went back and found the Sigourney Weaver episode from 1986, and they don't have all of the sketches, and they don't have Aliens. Why would they not have Aliens? It's a pretty good episode, though. It was the debut of Dana Carvey, Phil Hartman, Jan Hooks, and Kevin Nealon. It was the season premiere of that year. So there was some classic Saturday Night Live sketches on it, but not Aliens. but that is what made me interested in watching the movie. And I would have seen it on cable, or I rented it at a video store. I almost said Blockbuster, but that was even before Blockbuster was a thing. So I either watched it on cable or rented it, and I don't remember which one. But I do remember that I really loved the film when I first saw it. And would have watched it a couple times, all in that time period between 86 and 88. I can't even tell you specifically why I loved it. I think I was just really into sci-fi. I was more into horror type films back then as well. Given the type of movies that I was into at the time, I can see why I would have really loved it. And then I went to see Alien 3 when it came out. It wasn't called Aliens, and it sucked. And then I kind of lost interest and haven't watched a single movie in the franchise since then, although I have watched the pitch meetings for some of the newer ones, and it's pretty funny because they look like really bad movies. So I'm glad I've never watched the movies, but I'll watch the pitch meetings. Anyways, And that's all I got for that because I don't remember a whole lot about it. So I'll go ahead and move on over to part 3 and I can tell you about what I think of it now after having rewatched it. So what did I think of this movie? After having watched it for the first time in many, many years and now finally caught up with the rest of the fandom, I've seen it a gazillion times. Well, I haven't caught up with them, but I at least have seen it recently now. Well, let me start with the overall feel of the film. And I want to talk about how surprised I was that it wasn't dated. Like, it didn't look like a dated film. I would say that Total Recall, which is a film I did for a previous Nostalgia Lane, was more dated than this movie, even though Total Recall came out 4 years later. And I think part of that was, or most of that really, was in Total Recall. Anytime they would have wide shots of Mars, it looked really bad, especially when they had, like, I think it was the train or something that he was on, and they would show the wide shot of the train going through Mars, and it looked like it was copied and pasted on there, and it looks awful. And there was nothing like that in Aliens. A lot of it has to do with the fact that they don't do a lot of wide shots. A lot of it is in the dark. In fact, I think the only way you would know that Aliens was made in the 80s if you had no idea what this movie was, you had no idea who Sigourney Weaver was or any of that stuff, and you just watched it and you didn't know it was from the 80s. I think the giveaway is the fact that there's no CGI, but that's kind of a good thing. It's all practical effects. They use models for the ships and practical effects for the aliens. And I missed that, honestly. Like, it worked really well for me in this film, and there's nothing in it like the Total Recall Mars shots that make it look cheesy. So it looks really good to me. So it helped to draw me into this film. Usually when I watch older films and there's things like that that look really cheesy, I get taken out of the film a little bit, but here that was not the case. So that was surprisingly good. I was not expecting that necessarily. Now, as for the movie itself, it should be stated that these days that kind of film, this genre, is not typically my cup of tea, which probably explains why it's been so many years since I've watched it. The whole horror thing with monsters running around going roar, roar, like, give me a story. Like, I want character development. I want a story. So monsters chasing people around typically is not my cup of tea. I also saw Prey recently, the latest Predator movie, and I liked that. So what it boils down to is that I can watch and I can enjoy one of those types of films if it's done well, if it has some character development thrown in there as well, and it has some good themes and story elements, then I can get into a film like that. But it's still not going to be my go-to. I'm never going to... I would rather see a superhero movie than I would rather see a movie of monsters going around going rawr. But when it's done well, I can really appreciate it. And this was done as well as you could possibly do it. Sigourney Weaver, first of all, was amazing. I think that is another key element for my enjoyment of these films, of these types of films, that there needs to be good acting. And I think a lot of the, horror movies, they don't care about the acting. But this has really good acting. Prey also had very good acting as well. That helps sell me on it. The character development, and I love that you don't necessarily have to have seen or even remember the first Alien. It's been years and years and years and years since I've seen the first Alien, but they tell you enough. Oh, you were on the ship and this happened and that happened. Yeah. But you get enough of the backstory. I like that they, even in 1996, they're showing us corporate greed and how corporate greed is going to expand in the future. And yeah, they were right. I mean, we're not at that point yet in the future, but yeah, corporate greed is getting worse and worse. It's funny, like the whole storyline with the Paul Reiser character and him trying to smuggle the aliens out and benefit from them financially and all of that stuff. What it reminded me of was the film Don't Look Up. The rich guy in there who is like a kind of a knockoff of Elon Musk and Steve Jobs and various other billionaires. I know Steve Jobs has passed away, but I think that character was sort of based off him as well. That character trying to benefit financially off of the meteor that was about to hit the Earth, or the asteroid, whatever it was. It was very similar, except that film was a parody. It was like trying to make a point by making fun of billionaires and just showing how ridiculous they are. But this film was showing it seriously. Like, yeah, this is how billionaires are. But he's not a billionaire, obviously, but he works for, a major corporation. And how they are motivated financially. So I got a kick out of that part of it. I think that storyline was interesting to me. But that's not what this movie is about. It's not called The Company. It's not called Paul Reiser trying to make money. It's called Aliens. So let's talk about some aliens. Okay, so what this film does remarkably well is building up the tension. And I really appreciated that they did that without a lot of phony jump scares. In fact, I don't think they really had any. There was the one time where we first meet Newt and she kind of jumps across the screen, and I guess that could be a jump scare, but I didn't really read it that way. But I hate when movies do like a whole bunch of phony jump scares where they're trying to build tension up to what is inevitably coming. Whatever film you're watching, if it's a horror movie, you know that the creature or whatever it is coming later, or the ghost or whatever it is, whatever they're building to, that it's coming. And these movies always have to throw in these jump scares where it goes and then he plays the music, but it's like, oh, it's you, Bob. You scared the crap out of me. Some movies do that a lot, and it really irritates me. Other than Newt kind of jumping out, there really weren't any, and I appreciate it because they were able to build the tension effectively without it, and that shows that you don't need those cheap jump scares in there. I'm on pins and needles during that first mission when the Marines go in there. Like, this is when the aliens come, and initially they don't. They don't come out. But by the time they do encounter the aliens, I'm already like on pins and needles. So they did an effective job of building the tension. And I don't always like the like shaky cameras and all of that stuff, which is what was happening here in the first part when they first meet the aliens is like, shaky camera. But for whatever reason, it worked for me here. I don't know why. Maybe because at that point we hadn't seen the aliens yet in the film, and even though I know full well now what the aliens look like, not only have I seen the film before, but they're just out there in lore. They're out there in the fandom. But within the context of the film, it really helped to amp up the tension that we haven't seen the aliens on screen yet, and the people, the characters, haven't seen the aliens. So all of that worked for me a lot. Then as the film moves forward, I gotta admit, I do get bored a little bit with after a while of rawr, 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 until we get to the climax and the end. But they did have an interesting character interactions between Newt and Ripley, and you have this side plot with Paul Reiser being evil. So you had some other things to kind of cling on to then. And by the way, I have to say, I've heard people quote all the time the "game over, man, game over." My brother quotes that all the time. I didn't know that was Bill Paxton who did that. I knew Bill Paxton was in this movie, but I didn't know Bill Paxton was the one who go, "Game over, man." That character was freaking annoying. That character, the whole time he's like, "No, we're gonna hold time, man. There's no way we're getting out of here, man." And just over, and he had to say "man" after every sentence. That guy was annoying. And I didn't know that was Bill Paxton who played that particular role. I remembered he was in this movie, but I didn't know that was him. Because Bill Paxton would go on to like do real acting and not just be this obnoxious "game over, man" guy. So I did not know that. Anyways, so we get to the climax of this film, and that was really good. I was engaged when she went to save Newt. I was on pins and needles. It was scary. It was exciting. That was great. But when they get back up to the ship, like they were like, "Oh, the movie's over now. Everything's good." I'm like, wait a minute. I remember two things specifically. I remember the bishop got cut in half because on Aliens, this is, I think it was Dennis Miller, maybe, who was playing him, and he was like cut in half and laying on the floor. And making jokes or something. I don't remember because it's not on the freaking internet anywhere. I can't watch Aliens. This is. Anyways, I remember that, and I remember distinctly Ripley getting in one of those big yellow robot things going and fighting the alien. And that hadn't happened yet. So I'm like, wait a minute. They're acting like things are all safe and sound. But when the alien cuts Bishop in half, through this viewing, not surprising to me, but still very effective. I still don't quite understand how the alien got on board the ship. I think I missed that. Did he hitchhike? Was he hanging on their little their plane or whatever, shuttlecraft? I think I missed that part of it. But still, that was really intense. The ending was really intense. It was a very effective film for what it was trying to do. It was very, very good. Even though it's a genre in general that I don't appreciate, I can appreciate when a film does what they're trying to do really, really well. And this one was exceptionally well. And it doesn't feel dated. See my review for Never-Ending Story if you really want to talk about things that are dated. Oh my God. Anyways. Let me go ahead and wrap this up with my overall rating of the film after my latest rewatch. Alright, so now is the time where I give my rating out of 10 based on my latest rewatch. So my rating out of 10, with 1 being the lowest possible score and 10 being the highest possible score for Aliens, 8.5. 8.5. I'm just not feeling 9 or 10 for this because it's, I don't know. It did really, really well for the genre, but it's still not my favorite genre. It's a classic, so give it that. So I'll give it more than an 8, but I'm just not feeling 9 on this. Suffice to say, it's not like one of my favorite movies of all time, as it is for my brother, for some of you who watch his channel, Enchantment of Eternity. But it's good. I really liked it, really enjoyed it, especially for the genre. It is obviously one of the gold standards in that particular genre, and most films and shows that try to emulate it don't live up to it. So I gotta give it a lot of props for that. So it is an 8.5 out of 10 from me. Alright, that does it for this month's Nostalgia Lane. This is usually the part of the video where I tell you what I'm going to do next month on Nostalgia Lane. But if you haven't heard already, I made an announcement video earlier this month. Sadly, this will be the last regular monthly Nostalgia Lane video that I will do. I went a full year. This is the 12th one. I started September 2021 and went through August 2022 and did 12 of them. Maybe one day I'll rank them, but I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. It's just that I get like 20 views, and it's a lot of energy for 20 to 30 views a month. So it has become tiresome. I've done it for a full year, and so I'm gonna go ahead and hang up the Nostalgia Lane hat. Not that I won't ever do one again. I just won't do a monthly anymore. I may decide one month that, hey, I want to do Nostalgia Lane again, and I'll randomly do it. If you would like to change that, if you'd like to bring it back, then what you can do is go to my homepage, scroll down to the Nostalgia Lane playlist, watch more Nostalgia Lane videos, comment, like them. If I start seeing an increase in likes and comments and views retroactively on some of my Nostalgia Lane videos, especially if I get people asking for Nostalgia Lane to come back, then maybe I would bring it back monthly, but until that time, it'll just be occasionally whenever I feel like doing it, and I can't tell you when the next one will occur. And when I say I want to hear from people, I love you, subscribers, such as Brandon Howells and Life in the Void, but I know already that you would like me to bring it back. So I need to hear from additional people other than just my old traditional subscribers who have been there from the beginning, who I really love, and I appreciate you all. But I would need to hear a lot more than that. I would need to see a lot more likes and comments and views on these particular videos for me to bring them back. And if you would like to watch my previous Nostalgia Lanes, let me real quick show you a list of all of the ones that I've done previously. And again, you can go and find them on my homepage by scrolling down and looking at the Nostalgia Lane playlist. So I'm going to leave you with that. The list is going to go down your screen, and then I'm out of here. So I will see you all later. This might be the end of Nostalgia Lane, but I've got just plenty of other content. I've got Star Trek Top 10s. I've got Star Trek Lower Decks reviews. I have monthly transition life HRT videos. I just released my 2-year on HRT video. I just released my 2-year timeline as well. So please subscribe. Check out all that stuff, and I will see you soon. Goodbye.